Hello and welcome to Straight Talk with me, Sifiso Mahlang. Today I'm seated in the house of Mr. Gayton McKenzie, entrepreneur and writer. Mr. McKenzie says he's got an explosive for me, something that will blow the ANC's elective conference into pieces if he releases it. I'm here to cover the story. Thank you for watching. Mr. McKenzie, I welcome you to the show.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much, Sifiso, for having me. Pieces of ideas and debates.
Yeah.
Not literally pieces blowing up.
I really hope not, because I really want to cover this elective conference.
No, I think there's going to be a lot of debate. There's going to be a lot of eye-opening. Yes, and there's going to be a lot of naysayers. Yes, sir.
Mr. McKenzie, congratulations on, once again, your new book. I've read your previous writings, but this book is a book on President Jacob Zuma. And in this book, you say you're giving some explosives on debates, but you say you're also releasing stuff South Africa has never heard. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, basically, you know, thank you so much. My previous books has done really, really well, and it's because I got a very loyal base of readers. Yeah. And yeah, my new book is called Kill Zuma, by any means necessary. And what I've stumbled across is a whole lot of files that's 30 years old, that was done by the apartheid regime right into democracy. We also cover the many attempts, which I think is up to 6-7 attempts on President Jacob Zuma's life. But not only President Jacob Zuma's life, on some ANC leaders. There's some ANC leaders that's also been covered that was a death door. And we give the inside story, what happened to these leaders, because even themselves, they don't really know what happened. They just knew that they were poisoned. But I think the most important story for me in the book is CODESA, or should I say the con of CODESA. Because black people were conned at CODESA.
Okay.
And we were just told, like, yeah, this is the result, this is the best. We were told by white monopoly capital that this is the best outcome. How could that would have been the best outcome if we still don't have land? If there's a sunset clause but there's no sunrise clause? If black people are still living in squalor, if black people are still poor, how could... So I'm telling people what really transpired, things that they've never heard before. For instance, when P.W. Botha's regime made contact with President O.R. Tambo's regime, and the two of them, and people are not aware of this info, the two of them decided they're going to send two of their best men to start preliminary talks. Didn't start with de Klerk. I remember Mike Lowe and Michael Sparwater, I think is the guy's name, were sent number 1 and number 4 in the National Intelligence Agency from South Africa. Tambo sent Mbeki and Zuma. They met at a hotel called Lucerne in Switzerland. When they walked in there, Mbeki said to Zuma, my stomach is turning. And Zuma said, you'll be fine. They met these guys, Mbeki cracked a joke. They spoke for many hours. And when they left there, when they gave a report back, they gave 2 reports. Report number 1 is the ANC is willing to talk. Report number 2 we never heard of, and that's the report that we have, is that whatever you do, you gotta get Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma removed from negotiations. They are unmovable when it comes to the land issue and the aspirations of black people. You gotta put somebody there that is pliable, and that will make sure that the land still remain in our hands, that makes sure that there's a sunrise clause. Fast forward, and then military intelligence together with 3 foreign intelligence, CIA, Mossad, and MI6, came up with an operation called Operation Scrum. Operation Scrum had one thing in mind, to make sure that these 2 gentlemen, Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, does not sit at the negotiating table. Mandela and Nkobi was invited to North America. Zuma and Mbeki was invited to London. When they got to London and Mandela got to North America, but Zuma says to Mbeki, I'm going to go listen to Africa Report. He listens to say Zuma has been removed and Mbeki has been removed. He runs down, he finds Mbeki walking into the dining area. He tells him, we've been removed. Mbeki laughs like, Zuma, there's no such a thing. He says, I'm telling you, we have been removed. And Mbeki says, listen, they can remove me, they can't remove you. Only President Mandela can remove you. Why don't you call President Mandela? President Zuma makes a call through to President Mandela. Mandela scolds President Zuma. There's no such a thing. You cannot be removed. I'm the only one that can remove you, and I've not removed you. Long story short, when they landed, they found out that they've been removed and replaced by Cyril Ramaphosa.
Let me understand this.
Yes.
A lot of people might say Gayton McKenzie is corrupt. He's got a nasty past. Mr. McKenzie ex-con. Why should he be believable? Now it is the time for the elective conference of the ruling party, and you've got a book that has many, many explosives. Some people will ask, why now? Why should this book be believed?
I think, number one, I'm not speaking about people that are dead. I'm speaking about people that is alive, people that can come out and sue me, people that can come out and say, no, that's not true. We have never been poisoned. We have never been in a Russian hospital. We have never, you look at a guy like Didi Mabuza, a star of the ANC, the biggest threat to the enemies of the ANC in the ANC. They poisoned him. Now he can come out and say he went to 3 hospitals, Milpark, Little Mary, and when he was in Milpark, the doctors was more concerned to get Comrade Mabuza to resign from the ANC than to treat him. Now, I'm talking about people, to answer your question, I'm talking about President Thabo Mbeki is still alive. I know exactly what was said in that meeting. And I make it very clear in the book. But to answer your question, a book was released a few weeks ago or a month ago. And those people didn't say, why should we believe Jacques Pau? You talk about my past. My brother, I committed heinous crimes in my life. I did the most despicable things that I'm hugely embarrassed about. But 15 years ago, I made a vow and a promise I'll never commit a crime in my life again. There is no prison, and I exposed the biggest corruption in the world, prison expose, the biggest prison expose in the world. There's never been such a big prison expose. I then can tell you, there's no ex-prisoner in the world that has given as much money to charity than what I've done. There's no ex-prisoner in the world that has spoken to 2.3 million school children to tell them crime does not pay. I will do that until the end of my life. So I cannot live in the past. But what I'm saying is, test the information I have in the book. What I'm saying to you is that Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa was put there in that position through extremely clandestine means. If it was forthright, why do you wait for Mandela to leave? Why do you wait for Mbeki to leave?
So you're saying Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa came to the position he is now in the ANC because of the investment of white monopoly capital. There were external forces that deployed him to the NUM and deployed him into the ANC.
No, not external forces. It was Manel. The Manel family is one of the biggest families in mining. I'm in mining, so I know all the families. Manel paid for his schooling through the Urban Foundation. And when they were sitting, he gave them money to start NUM. The National Union of Mine Workers was started by money from Manel, Oppenheimer, and Rupert. He has always been the boy. He has always, you know, I want to make an example. When we used to go and rob any place, we always have somebody inside that gives us information. We call that person the fingerman. He is the fingerman for white monopoly capital. Every time black people are about to rise and stand up, he comes up. Now he's coming up with New Deal, this thing of Roosevelt, the American president's idea. Yeah, a New Deal. What I'm saying to you is the question everybody should ask themselves is only 2 questions. The people that don't believe me should ask themselves 2 questions. How did you become the chief negotiator if Thabo Mbeki was the chief negotiator? That's the one question. Whether you like me or whether you disagree with me, answer that question. How did you become? And then you will see the ANC does not operate like that. It was in an extremely clandestine manner that he became that. Secondly, which is the most important question, ask anybody that went to war against the apartheid regime, is this what they fought for, the outcome we got? And you'll not find one that says this is not. We have no land, we have no money. In fact, we have people that controls our daily lives.
But what if next week Sunday, Mr. Ramaphosa is the president of the ANC? What will happen to South Africa? And what would happen to your beliefs then, Mr. McKenzie?
A very good question.
If in fact he is elected as president of the ANC?
Well, that's a very, very good question. Firstly, if Mr. Ramaphosa is elected, the persons elected him should not say they were not told. We shall rectify that mistake come 2019. Other political parties.
Let's talk about the attempt to poison President Jacob Zuma. In an interview with me, President Zuma did confirm that there has been an attempt on his life. I've read the prelim to your book. You suggest that you are aware, you have facts that President Jacob Zuma was poisoned, and you can even name those people.
Yes, we can name the people that poisoned President Jacob Zuma. You must understand, President Zuma is one of the last Pan-Africanists that's left. President Zuma has been, according to the files, after Fidel Castro, you have Fidel Castro and you have President Zuma in attempts on his life. You cannot say President Zuma is lying like some of them said. He spent people don't even know how long he spent in a Russian hospital. I'm giving the details of it. That people do not understand that they got to him, but there were other attempts that failed.
Where the president did not want to engage me.
No, he didn't want to engage you.
Is who poisoned him? Maybe you can take me there.
Well, one of the allegations is that his wife was one of the people that was paid. And we went deep into the book to say how come, who did she meet. We even mentioned the guy's name in the book.
So his wife, in fact, did poison him. And you're saying she was paid for that?
That is what is alleged in the files. Secondly, the ANC top 6, there was a mission to destroy BRICS. And in order to destroy our participation in BRICS, and I write fully about it in the book, it was decided that you just need to change the ANC, because any incoming government will withdraw from BRICS. And they had a 3-point plan how to destroy the ANC. Kill a few leaders, top leaders, kill the top leader of the ANC, which is Jacob Zuma. At Lituli House, the ANC top 6 met. President Zuma went there knowing that he's going to be poisoned. He asked his daughter to bring him food. During lunchtime, one member of the ANC top 6 offered him liver, and he refused to eat the liver. And the person says, you got to taste this liver. One of the top 6 members, you got to taste this liver. This liver is the best. But when President Zuma looked at the liver, he could see this liver has not been touched. And the plate didn't look the same like the other plates there. Comrade Jesse Duarte ran to the kitchen to ask them, have you prepared liver? And liver was not on the menu. President Zuma then gave to a guy called Carlos the liver to have it tested, the toxologist, only to find out that there was lots of poison in it. Now, let me explain something to you, my brother. That's one. Two, when they saw what Comrade Didi Mabuza is doing in the ANC, how united Mpumalanga is, that he's the future of the ANC, what did they do? They poisoned him. When they found out Willis Mchunu is uniting the province, they poisoned him with ricin, the very same poison that they poisoned Comrade Didi Mabuza with. And
then the next question would be, who are they? The ones that poisoned President Jacob Zuma, Willis Mchunu,
foreign agencies. The foreign agencies that's against our participation in BRICS. That is them. And these people went to South African hospitals and they couldn't, all 3 of them, they couldn't be healed. They all end up at the Russian hospitals. Didi Mabuza, Comrade Willis Mchunu, Comrade Mabuza, and Comrade President. So what I'm trying to say to you is, in this country, we must be honest. Black people have nothing. We are being controlled by the Stellenbosch mafia. Anton, we always hear about the Guptas calling ministers. Anton Rupert told Minister Fikile Mbalula, go and tell your President Zuma. He sent him to President Zuma. It is in the book that I will make South Africa look worse than Zimbabwe if he can remove my boy Pravin and Mkhabisi Jonas. Mbalula said to him, no, but this is not the way to negotiate.
I'm going to tweet Mbax right after this and ask him.
Mbax then said, this is not the way to negotiate. And he said to Mbax, no, what do you mean? I give food to 17,000 school children. Buck says that's the problem. You give food to 17,000 children. We don't want handouts. A huge argument ensued between him and Mbaks. But the message did get to the presidency. Mbaks then further said to him, and I see you don't invite me to the Laureate Sports Awards. He said, I will never invite you until you've given me assurance that you will not change the Springbok emblem. Bidvest got each and every government department, they own the airport. You go and sit in the bathroom, in the toilet, to relieve yourself. You're using the toilet paper from Bidvest. You stand up there to wash your hands. You're using the soap from Bidvest. You go in to go and eat. You use the food of Bidvest. Everything there is Bidvest. Who's these people that got evergreen contracts? Bidvest. Bidvest got evergreen contracts. What an evergreen contract is a contract that doesn't have a date when it's ending. Let me make you a better example. And they were blaming Durmiani wrongly. 10 billion rand is the diesel, the jet fuel at SAA. 5 companies, for the past 80 years, only 5 companies has been sharing that. Let's go to Eskom. Eskom, the coal, 75% of that coal has been locked in for 75-year contracts by a certain family, by certain families. But we just hear about the Gupta family. The biggest mistake the Guptas did, they did nothing different than what White Monopoly Capital did. They just didn't have the cover that White Monopoly Capital got.
So you're saying SAA blames Dudumieni and the media blames Dudumieni, but she should not be blamed because it's actually Bidvest's fault.
Not only Bidvest, all these long-term evergreen contracts. The pilots.
To specific families.
The pilots. In our country, you have the Ruperts, the Manels, and you have the Oppenheimers that controls these people. Look at Trevor Manuel. His wife gave the whole book of Transnet over to the Oppenheimers and still got married on a farm. Just imagine, still got married. People were complaining that Comrade Ace Makashula and them went to the Gupta wedding. Some people. Now, just imagine if Comrade Ace Makashula had to get married at the Gupta's compound in Section World. You know the media uproar, they will be there. So what I'm saying to my brother is, people must make up their own minds. I know I'm in for a lot of insults, but I know I've got the proof. I'm not talking about people that are dead. I'm talking about people that can talk for themselves. Make up your own mind after reading the book. I don't care who's the president, whether he wins or whether he loses. But people must know they've been warned. If this man wins this conference, white people will rejoice. And how can white people rejoice that is against radical economic transformation? You know, I watched this movie Godfather last night. And Michael Corleone in Godfather 2, I think, he goes there and sits in the front row with the brother of the guy that's about to testify against him. He didn't talk to that guy, but the message was very clear. Don't go off script. Here's your brother. What happened in Soweto? The 4 captains of White Monopoly Capital go to an ANC meeting where Cyril was introducing a new deal.
Could it be said, some people will say in this country, that you are paid to say the things you're saying? You see, that your book is a machinery, is a propaganda machine against Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa and in defense of President Jacob Zuma, because you might be against certain intelligence acts because you've put highlighting information in the book. Some of the information you have put here is not of public knowledge.
Yes, but paid by who?
Some might suggest that you're paid by some handlers. Some will obviously suggest you're paid by President Jacob Zuma.
You see, it's true what you're saying. I know that's what many people are going to say. But sometimes they must not confuse the situation with, if they get paid to say things, I'm not hungry. I mean, that is very, very obvious. I've never met the Guptas in my life. And I am not Gupta crazy. The Guptas have for too long been used as a scapegoat in this country. I'm not going to sit here and say they didn't make mistakes. I'm going to say there's something they need to answer to, which they will answer to. But they're not the only ones that need to answer for some of the things. People want answers. But when people say, I've been paid, why don't you just read the book? And borrow the book if you don't want to buy the book from someone, and read through that. My issue is that There's people you can make that allegation to, not me.
Have you violated some acts of intelligence by putting in the book information that might be very sensitive to the state?
I think they've asked me not to release the names of the spies. And if they come for me, I will release those names.
I've heard President Jacob Zuma speak at Mbangeni and saying in a post-December situation, he will speak and he will tell things that South Africa, particularly those who are very loud, will be very surprised to hear. Are you aware of many spies that have infiltrated the ANC today? You say you've been asked not to release those names, but do you know who they are?
Yes, I know. It's not difficult to work out who they are. Just look around you. But also, what President Zuma said, he said he will talk after December from his branch. When you see them attacking him like this, it is particularly because they're trying to prevent, they want to make sure the day when he speaks, his reputation is to the ground. I'm going to say this to you, my brother. In this country, black people are being taken for a ride by some blacks that has been given a few shares here and there. They've given me a few shares here and there thinking I will not talk. I'm not that type of a guy. I'm saying to you, we are the only people in the world that has won a revolution and we don't have land. Now people blame Afrikaners and the farmers for, that is the biggest lie that has been told in this country. And our politicians, because some of them are not clueless, they don't have a clue what they talk about when they speak about land. It's not Afrikaner. Agriculture is around 3 to 5% of our land is agricultural land. The white farmers being blamed for nothing here. Let me tell you who's the culprit. The culprit is the mining houses. Because who owns the land should get service fees. You get service fees, and service fees is an arrangement between the landowner and the mine owner. So if I say, Goldfields, your profit is $5 billion US dollars. I want $2 billion service fee. Now that is why the land is not coming back. It is not the farmers holding on to the land. You are blaming the wrong people. It is the land, it is the mining magnates that's holding on to this land. The media is protecting Comrade Cyril. This man has got money in the Paris papers. His company's name is there. You don't read about it. Comrade Steve Mutale brought out the girls that he's seeing. You don't read about that. Marikana, all of a sudden now, it's like these people has come back to life. They're no longer dead.
You say that President Jacob Zuma was almost poisoned with liver in a top 6 meeting of the ANC.
Yes, with the knowledge of one top 6 member.
So that allegation is someone in the top 6 is poisoning him.
Has tried to poison him.
Someone in the ANC, top 6 has attempted to
poison President Jacob Zuma.
The president.
That's
a very serious allegation.
And that is an allegation I stand by as I'm sitting here. Whoever wants to take me to court, let them come. I'm not a stupid man. I've got many means, financial means. I'm not going to risk all of that. So whoever wants to take me to court, I'm saying that a member of the top 6 has tried to poison. Because you see, President Jacob Zuma is the first president in the ANC that uttered the following words. The land has been stolen and the land should be returned. People should make up their own minds about President Jacob Zuma. I disagree with many of me and him at a huge disagreement regarding the national issue of the colored question. Because I think colored people have been betrayed. And I went to go for my own party. But it doesn't mean I don't admire the man. I will not be told every day that the Guptas and President Zuma is responsible for the mess that black people find themselves in. But you see, these blacks that are being paid to release books will say, I'm being paid to release books. I can show you every invoice of who paid for my printing. Can they do the same? Any author that says I've been paid must come with his invoice, and I'm saying it nationally. I will come with every invoice of who paid for the printing of this book. Books are expensive. We know who paid for the books. So what I'm saying to you, I'm making that allegation. I'm making the allegation that there was an operation to have the ANC debt. I'm making the allegation that they wanted to remove President Thabo Mbeki because of his pro-African stance. And they knew, if Mbeki was sitting there, believe me, you would have owned some of the land today.
Mr. McKenzie, law is a little bit like journalism, and journalism also like law. How you acquire certain information deems it fit to be used in a court of law. Did you receive this information, these files you speak of legally?
Well, I received it from the owner that wrote the files. So President Zuma does not have jurisdiction over these files. The intelligence minister does not have jurisdiction of these files. This files was not even given to me in this country. So these are my files. How I got it, it's none of their business. I don't take instructions from, I take instructions from my party, Patriotic Alliance leadership. The ANC cannot tell me what to do with the files. In the book, I've already unmasked one senior person already as a spy. And I'm going to do much more.
Who is that person?
We have a situation in MK where people were died, where people were killed. One of the survivors, with tears in his eyes, told me, thank you for being brave to ask me this question. Because I asked him, who sold you out? With tears in his eyes, he said, I was sold out by Comrade Simpuye Nyanda. All these spies.
So you're saying Mr. Simpuye Nyanda is a spy?
Kit Sogovu, the person that was arrested and sentenced by Simpuye Nyanda, is saying Simpuye Nyanda is a spy. If you read the book, you will get that. I'm ready. Let him come. Let us have our. Let them send me summons if I'm lying. They know the reason why black people have nothing is because of Codesa and of what happened in Codesa. Our constitution was written in Sandhurst. That's where they wrote the constitution under the supervision of Manel, Oppenheimer, and Rupert. 200 students they got together. Now people they were never in the pictures, those students.
And here we are at this extraordinary house, and you're leveling damning allegations against people who are powerful, some of the most powerful individuals in this country. Are you not concerned about your safety, Mr. McKenzie?
I'm from the
post
street.
This discussion, post this interview.
I'm from the street, my brother. That's all I'm going to say to you. Who's ever looking for me, I shall be looking for them too.
Mr. McKenzie, I thank you for the show. Yeah, thank you for being a great guest.
Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. And I stand by everything that I said here today. And I've got my proof.
And that was politician, writer, and entrepreneur, Mr. Gayton McKenzie. I am Sifiso Mahlangu. This is Straight Talk, only on Channel 405 on DSTV. We are called ANN7. Thank you for watching. It's a goodbye from me.